Throughout human history, nothing has been more terrifying than a false belief, believed completely. Cults are not built by monsters, they are built by ordinary people. People who know how to manipulate fear, offer hope, and slowly take control of their followers' souls. These are the 10 most terrifying cults ever formed. Across Indonesia, families woke up to find their loved ones gone. GAFATAR, or Gerakan Fajar Nusantara, began in 2011 as a peaceful social movement. But its leader, Ahmad Moshadea, preached visions of the apocalypse, salvation, and a chosen land. Followers were recruited slowly through motivational classes and religious discussions, until they were told to cut ties with family members who wouldn't understand. Between 2014 and 2016, thousands simply vanished. Police eventually found the truth in West Kalimantan, a secret settlement built by the GAFATAR. There, followers lived in isolation. No phones, no internet, just hard labor, mental control, and promises of a new civilization. In 2016, the Indonesian government evacuated the settlement and reunited followers with their families. Some returned home traumatized, others refused to leave. GAFATAR spilled no blood, but it stole something far more fragile: identity, time, and family. Some cults don't need weapons because mind control is enough. The roots go back to the 1970s to Al-Arqam, led by Ashari Muhammad. When the group was banned in 1994 for deviant teaching, some followers didn't return to normal life. Instead, they formed a new entity, Global Aum Shinrikyo, or some of you may know, GISBH. From the outside, it looks like a business network: restaurants, supermarkets, breeding projects, small enterprises. But inside, there was something deeper. Former members described life in GISBH as absolute obedience to leaders, restricted movement and relationships, gradual social isolation, strict gender roles, individuality replaced by the group. Many said the outside world lies. Only we have the truth. This is a phrase echoed in every cult across history. GISBH power was not in violence, but in discipline and the aura of holy truth that made followers feel chosen, purer than society, obligated to obey. When a person's marriage, job, and even emotions are dictated by a leader, that is no longer a community. It leaves no visible wounds, but it steals freedom, one obedient step at a time. In Besut Terengganu, a village believed their leader ruled from the sky. Ayah Pin, or Arifin Muhammad, started as an ordinary villager, quiet, soft-spoken. But when he spoke, people listened. In the 1980s, he claimed to be the messenger of various holy figures and divine beings. His teachings spread slowly, subtle like a thread tightening around the mind. To prove his sky kingdom, followers built strange structures. A giant teapot is a symbol of blessing, a large boat as a sign of salvation. Ritual domes meant to draw energy from the heavens. The village became a world of its own, where logic faded and only one voice remained true: Ayah Pin's. Followers left families, surrendered property, and lived as though a returning prophet has chosen them. And like many cults, fear eventually replaced clarity. Those who tried to leave were reportedly warned they would lose protection from higher realms. In 2005, the government demolished the complex. Ayah Pin disappeared and later died quietly, as if his cult slipped back into the mist. No blood was spilled, but it proved one thing. You don't need weapons to control people. You only need the right belief at the wrong time. Some cults don't wait for the end of times. They create their own path to the next world. Founded in 1984 by Luc Jouret and Joseph Di Mambro, the Order of the Solar Temple blended Templar mysticism, astrology, and beliefs in reincarnation on the star Sirius. Followers were not ordinary people. Many were wealthy professionals and influential individuals convinced they were chosen souls. The deeper they went, the more they believed that to ascend to a higher realm, they needed one ritual: the transit through fire. In 1994, police discovered dozens of bodies across Switzerland and Canada, arranged in ceremonial patterns. Some were shot first, some were burnt alive as part of a spiritual journey. A few years later, another wave of ritual death followed, marking the end of the cult. When people believe their destination lies beyond this world, they may destroy themselves to reach a place that may never exist. A small Oregon town was almost taken over by a cult without anyone noticing. Osho, a spiritual teacher from India, captivated thousands with teachings on freedom, meditation, and enlightenment. Followers came from around the world: professionals, celebrities, the wealthy. When pressure from the Indian government grew, they moved to rural Oregon and built their own city, Rajneeshpuram. At first, it looked like a utopia: lush farms, daily rituals, and international communities. But as influence grew, so did paranoia. Under Osho's closest aide, Anandshila followers armed the commune, spied the locals, and attempted to control local politics. The breaking point came in 1984 when they contaminated restaurants in the Dalis with salmonella, sickening more than 700 people. The first bioterror attack in American history. Sheilas fled to Europe, leaving incriminating evidence behind. The FBI moved in. Osho was arrested on immigration fraud and deported. Without leaders, the commune collapsed within months. A utopia turning into a ghost town. Rajneeshpuram proved that a city built on charisma will eventually fall to reality. A cult that looked like a company but was actually a psychological prison. NXIVM began in the late 1990s as an exclusive self-help organization. With corporate language and professional branding, Keith Raniere attracted celebrities and high-profile clients who believed they were unlocking their full potential. But the deeper followers went, the darker the truth became. Raniere created a secret group called DOS, where women were chosen in secrecy, forced to hand over collateral from blackmail, and had their diet and daily movements controlled. Some were even branded burned with a symbol representing their leaders. No robes, no holy rituals, just corporate structure used as a weapon of manipulation. In 2017, the scandal broke. Rhaenyra was arrested and sentenced to over 100 years in prison. NXIVM proved that modern cults don't wear sacred garments, they wear suits and sell self-confidence. 39 people waited for a spaceship that never came and died believing it would. Marshall Applewhite and Bonnie Nettle thought that the human body was a temporary vessel and that true salvation required leaving it behind. For decades, followers lived in isolation, believing extraterrestrial beings were watching over them. In 1997, the Hale-Bopp comet appeared. Applewhite claimed a spacecraft trailed behind it, ready to take their souls.
Becoming a next-level alien, and then you would physically get on board.
39 followers gathered in a rented home, wore identical black outfits, covered themselves with purple cloth, and calmly consumed a mixture of drugs and alcohol. They were all certain they would board a cosmic journey. The comet passed. Nothing came. The next day, police found all 39 bodies, silent, arranged as if they truly believed they were about to depart Earth. A small cult whose murders shook the world. Charles Manson had no power, no wealth, no political influence, but he had one terrifying skill: the ability to manipulate broken people. In the late 1960s, he gathered vulnerable youth seeking love, direction, and belonging. At Spahn Ranch, he gave them food, attention, and a twisted sense of family. But the affection came with a price. Through drugs, music, and psychological conditioning, he told them, "The world will fall into chaos and we will lead the new age." He convinced them that murders would spark a racial apocalypse that would destroy society, after which the Manson family would rule what remained. In 1969, the cult became a nightmare. Manson's followers carried out horrific murders, including the killing of actress Sharon Tate, who was 8 months pregnant, and 4 others. Manson never held a weapon. He never stabbed anyone. But his words turned ordinary people into obedient killers. Sometimes a cult leader doesn't need to kill. He only needs to convince others that killing is justified. The cult that built its own chemical weapon lab. Shoko Asahara created Aum Shinrikyo by blending Eastern religion, apocalyptic prophecy, and extreme misuse of science. Followers believed the world was ending and they alone would survive. Behind the facade of spirituality, the cult built something chilling. Chemical weapons laboratories, sarin nerve gas production, poison experiments on animals, and possibly on followers themselves. They raised millions, purchased helicopters, and planned mass casualty attacks that they believed would trigger the apocalypse. On March 20, 1995, they acted. Followers boarded Tokyo subway trains during rush hour, punctured bags of liquid sarin with umbrellas, and walked away as the invisible gas spread. Within minutes, people collapse, suffocated, panic erupting through the tunnels. 13 died. More than 6,000 were injured. Japan was thrown into terror, not by foreign enemies, but by a homegrown cult that fused belief with science to create its own doomsday. The deadliest cult tragedy in modern history, Jim Jones did not start as a monster. He began as a church leader helping the poor, charismatic, compassionate, and deeply trusted. But as his influence grew, so did his hunger for control. In the 1970s, facing media scrutiny, Jones moved hundreds of followers to a remote settlement in Guyana. There, he isolated them from the world, took their passports, controlled their food, and forced them into endless labor under constant propaganda. In Jonestown, only one voice mattered: Jim Jones. On November 18, 1978, after a US congressman was murdered for trying to help defectors escape, Jones reached his breaking point. He stood before his community and said, "We are not committing suicide. We are committing revolutionary death." The most heartbreaking part about this whole story was children were poisoned with cyanide first, mixed into sweet drinks. The adults line up, one by one, to drink the same poison, terrified but obedient. When authorities arrived the next day, they found a scene beyond imagination. More than 900 bodies lying across the red earth of Jonestown. Women, parents, and hundreds of children who never had a choice. It remains the deadliest cult tragedy in modern history, not because of physical violence, but because of belief twisted into destruction. Jonestown proved that the most dangerous person is the one willing to be treated as a god, and the one willing to believe it. Cults rarely begin with violence. They begin with certainty that someone else has all the answers. From 39 people in Heaven's Gate to over 900 in Jonestown, we've seen what happens when humans surrender their thoughts to a single leader. As long as fear exists, as long as people believe without questioning, cults will continue to thrive. History teaches us that a cult doesn't begin with shouting. It begins with a whisper. And that whisper is what we must watch for.